So I was inspired to give the talk because I was having a conversation with my colleague, Maria, and she was saying, we were talking about code review, and she was talking about how we are taught how to write code and we're not taught how to read code. And she was saying that's completely the opposite of when you learn a natural language like French or Spanish or whatever. Because I'm learning Spanish at the moment, she's learning French. And she's like, when we're learning these languages, we're taught how to read stuff, how to comprehend stuff before we start trying to construct things. And we're not taught how to do that when we're taught how to do code. So I'm like, that sounds like a good topic for a talk. I hope that when people come to the session, they will realize that reading code is as important as writing code, obviously. I want them to concentrate on the skill of reading code. It's not just, it is a means to an end, but it's a skill in its own right. So we should perhaps be developing the skill of reading code as well as just thinking about just writing it. Because we spend a lot of time reading code in order to write code, but we never focus on learning how to read code effectively. In the last 12 months, Java in particular is moving very rapidly right now with 6-monthly release cadences. So in terms of technology, things are moving as fast or faster than ever. But I think what I've seen, and maybe this is just a bias based on my interests, is increasing interest on the softer side of the software industry. The increasing realization that skills like communication skills, skills like so-called soft skills are at least as important as technical skills in order to figure out what am I building? Why am I building it? How can I build it the most effective way? How can I make sure it's maintainable? These are not actually technical skills. These are communication, soft type skills, which require us to have a completely different mindset than just typing code into a computer. I have a lot of advice for people just starting out on their careers. I think my number one piece of advice is don't panic. It's very overwhelming, the pace of technical change, the amount of things you have to learn, the amount of stuff you don't know. If you come out of university or a boot camp or something and you have some technical skills, coding skills, you might not have skills like how to use version control, how to use your IDE effectively, how to do containerization. You know, a lot of the things, continuous integration, automated testing. These are all skills you need as a professional developer. You're not necessarily taught when you're taught how to be a programmer, if that makes any sense. So it's very overwhelming for people just starting out. And if you don't have any of that background, if you haven't got a computer science degree, if you haven't done any training courses, like where do I begin? How do I start? So it's very overwhelming. But I think don't panic. Think about what it is you like about it or why you want to get into the industry. You don't have to learn everything. You don't have to know everything. Accept the fact that you don't know anything. And just be prepared to learn and be open to learning new stuff. As you progress a little bit and you become like 2 to 5 years experience, you might become even more worried about this because you might feel like I should know this by now and I still don't understand anything. Then you need to be talking to people with 20, 30 years experience who will tell you, I don't know it either. I'm much more comfortable with the fact that I don't know how this works. I have to Google everything all the time. I don't know how to rebase my Git branches. I just always have to look that up. So don't panic. Be prepared to learn forever. It is never done. It is never perfect. And that's okay. I believe software craftsmanship has helped with an idea of professionalism in the industry, yes. I think the ideas of things like clean code, readable code, the idea of taking pride in your work, which is what I take from the concept of craftsmanship, is good because it tailors well to what developers are feeling when they start coding. They want to take pride in their work. They want to do a good job. I think the craftsmanship movement has helped to make that a professional reality and not just like an academic achievement. Like we would like stuff to be perfect, but it has to be done. I think craftsmanship helps to sort of bridge that a little bit. I think one of the areas where we need to work a bit harder is I've been thinking about craftsmanship a lot and about how in sort of the Middle Ages, when you had the idea of a craftsman, you would have apprentice, journeyman, and master type levels. And I think a lot of the craftsmanship movement is still very focused on the master. I think we assume everyone's already at the journeyman, and I think the apprentice level is really neglected. So I think we need to work a little bit harder on this path to mastery, instead of just looking at, this is what mastery looks like. It's like, how do we get there? So I can cheat to stay ahead of what's happening in the software industry because I have to do a monthly newsletter. So every month I have to send out a newsletter. I just finished it this morning actually for October. And I have to sort of summarize the news for the last month or so. When I first started doing it, it was really difficult because I had to go away and research what happened in the last month. Now I have a bunch of interesting stuff happening on Twitter, a bunch of Twitter lists. I have newsletters I'm signed up to and things like that, and a process to allow me to save interesting links of stuff I've read. And so I know that throughout the course of the month, one of my jobs is to read stuff that looks kind of interesting and sort of stay vaguely abreast of what's happening in terms of technology. For me, I'm focused almost exclusively on Java, not even necessarily JVM stuff, but like Java the language, Java features, and some of the more popular frameworks. So it's just kind of part of my day job really to make sure I call it surfing the tsunami of news. So you just kind of have to keep an eye on the headlines. You don't have to read everything, but keep an eye on the headlines, the trends, and drill deeper when something is interesting. I have a duty to JetBrains to tell people how to become more productive. I can help developers become more productive by helping them become productive with their IDE specifically, because that's my job as an advocate for IntelliJ IDEA. But the reason why I'm an advocate for IntelliJ IDEA is because I was productive in the IDE. So it's not like this is my job, so I have to tell people what to do. I tell people to do this because it was very effective for me. Learning how to master the IDE, learning how IntelliJ IDEA specifically, but any of your tools, learning what they offer you, learning what they can do for you so that you don't have to do the typing or the manual boring stuff, helps you to become more productive by allowing you to focus on the thing you're trying to achieve, not how you're going to implement it. So my quickest hack to becoming productive is learn your IDE, understand what it can do for you, allow it to generate the boilerplate code for you, allow it to hint things to you, and not get in the way of how you're actually working. So I really like SC London, actually. This is my second time here. I like it because it's a single track conference. So you look at all the talks. You don't have the decision of, oh, maybe this one or maybe that one. You're kind of forced to sit through talks you wouldn't normally sit through, which is good because you learn stuff you didn't know you needed to know. It's a friendly conference. It's London, so for me, obviously, London's always going to be a bit of a home for me. It's easy to get to. It's a friendly conference where people will chat to you and you don't feel too... maybe it's because London's kind of like a home for me, but I feel like people here are welcoming and they chat to you and you can kind of feel like part of the community. So yeah, I highly recommend coming to this conference.